The story revolves around a prophecy that sort of revolves around the Sangam Tamil lands and how it's going
Right.
to impact the kingdoms and the empires that dwell in
Hmm.
that area. So the prophecy is linked to twins and their
Yeah.
existence.
I am the only writer who writes in English, but using Indian literary principles.
So, hello, welcome to the Awaara Musaafir show. Today we have two really amazing authors with us. First is Rakesh, and second is Tejaswini. So, Tejaswini has released her debut novel, and for Rakesh, it is his second novel. I'll show you the covers of both these novels. So, this is Tejaswini's novel, Sangam The Awakening, and then we have Dawn the Warrior Princess by Rakesh Kaul. So, first of all, welcome to the show, both of you. I have read first few pages of the book. I received the book few days back, and I loved it. Like the way Tejaswini, you have taken the whole story like historical fiction and given it a twist. It's really amazing. And Rakesh, this is your second book, so I was like really amazing to find this whole story on Kashmir. A lot of people don't, sort of go into these ways. But kudos to you. You did that, and yeah, once again, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here.
I'm
So
delighted to be here. And a
great,
warm hello to your listeners.
great. So first of all, let's talk about Sangam the Awakening. Since Tejaswini, this is your debut novel. Um,
Yeah.
Tell me something about the book. Like just to give a gist of the story to my viewers, can you talk about the book?
Yeah, sure. So it's a fantasy fiction novel that's based in southern India, more focused on Tamil Nadu. And the story revolves around a prophecy that sort of revolves around the Sangam Tamil lands and how it's going
Right.
to impact the kingdoms and the empires that dwell in
Hmm.
that area. So the prophecy is linked to twins and their
Yeah.
existence. So there's a lot of linkage between the two, and it gets very exciting as the pages
Right.
go. So, yeah.
Awesome. And Rakesh, about your book. So you have written it on Kashmir, the Warrior Princess. Can you talk about the book first?
Yes, the book is set in the year 3000 AD.
Okay.
And by the way, Tejas, heartiest congratulations on your debut.
Oh, thank
It
you. Thank
sounds
you
like
so
your
much.
novel is a really fascinating novel. I love the title, Sangam. So,
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm waiting to read your book too.
thank you.
Hey, I just wanted to drop in and say कि अगर आप ये वीडियो एंजॉय कर रहे हो तो सब्सक्राइब करना मत भूलिएगा. Now you can continue watching the episode.
So, uh, the story uh, deals with the main character, Dawn, जो आपके हिंदी भाषा वाले लिसनर्स होंगे उनको एकदम से पता लग जाएगा कि ये
Right.
कहानी उषा की है।
Hmm.
और अगर आप एक मिनट सोचेंगे उषा या डॉन उसका क्या धर्म है जब से ये यूनिवर्स क्रिएट हुआ तब से उषा सिर्फ काली डार्कनेस को ही देखती है
Right.
पर उषा हार नहीं मानती नहीं डरती उषा अपना धर्म करती है वो क्योंकि उषा के अंदर लाइट है
Right.
उषा इज लाइट dawn is light. So she's a 16-year-old girl, and the story starts with her on her 16th birthday. She's living in a cave in Mount Kailash.
Right.
I actually went to Mount Kailash some time back. I recommend that yatra to everybody. And she has her mother, and on her 16th birthday, she finds out that she is the last girl alive on earth,
Wow. Yeah.
and that outside the world has been taken over by technology, by a very ruthless ruler, that there are 5 billion men who have been given the mission to capture her, at which point she'll be sacrificed along with her mother, and that will be the end of females on Earth.
Hmm.
That
Beautiful.
is where the story
So,
begins.
like this, like you
That's
both
pretty
have
heavy.
these amazing stories in your books. I'll talk about the story, but before that, I want to talk about the cover of both the books, because a lot of people say don't judge a book by cover, but these covers are like really beautiful. I mean, I was stunned when I saw the cover pictures. So for an author, how much like it is a marketing process, or like you design your covers yourself? What is the whole process like?
Yeah. So go ahead, Tejaswini. Go ahead. You go first.
Oh, okay. I thought I was waiting for you.
Mhm.
So feel
All
free to
right.
jump in
So
whenever you feel like.
for me, it was mostly done by the marketing company, the
Hmm.
self-publishing company that I had gone by.
Yeah.
But what I had done was give my opinions, like, what I wanted the cover to be and how I
Right.
wanted it to be, colors, vagara, everything I
Hmm.
chose, and I sent it to them, and then they worked on it. There were a couple of drafts. That
Correct.
itself had like 7, 8 drafts for them to, for
Right.
me to approve what I saw. So for me, it was also an essential part to the story, because that's the first thing that you see if you have to pick
100%.
up a
Yeah.
book, if you have to find it interesting. So you can say, like, yeah, don't judge a book by its cover and stuff like that, but honestly, you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
only then you will pick up a book and you will look at the blurb, like you will try to turn the
Yeah.
book and see, okay, what is the story about? If you have an
Right.
interesting cover, then it's great. So if you don't, it'll be tougher.
Cool. And for you, Rakesh?
So, I mean, I hope when people pick the book to read, that they will read the first 1 or 2 pages. But to the degree, and Tejaswini is right, uh, one picture is worth 1,000 words. So, what
Right.
should the picture show?
Hmm.
And if you look at Dawn, you will see a few interesting things. The first thing you will see is her hair is completely flying loose.
Yeah. 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 I can see the sun here.
And we know from the Mahabharata that when a woman loosens her hair,
Hmm.
she has taken an oath that now she will be unstoppable. There's a
Right.
very famous scene with Draupadi
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
that happens. If you look at the clothing that she is wearing, it is both giving a sense of the year 3000 AD, but it's also giving you a sense that this girl is very rooted in her heritage.
Correct.
जो इसकी जो परंपरा है, इसको उसमें पूरा ज्ञान है. So she is wearing some very traditional outfit. जो
Right.
इसकी कैप है, जो इसके earrings है, जो कश्मीर के famous de jour earrings हैं.
Right. Right.
So she is a blend of new and old. And most interesting, इसका weapon क्या है? That I will let the readers then read.
Correct.
कि what is this one weapon she had to be able to face in the
Right.
year 3080 the horrific forces against?
Correct.
So I will leave that for the readers. So all those elements had to come into the design of the picture. The artist, hats off to him, amazingly talented. He did a great job.
Right. But then, as authors, like, what do you think? Ab jaise, if you have to write a book, so when you are writing in the writing process of a book, do you think about the cover from that time, or it is like the end में एकदम जो करना है part उसमें आएगा?
I
That
can
depends.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah.
That depends, actually. I mean, there are certain scenes that will immediately click. There are scenes that, you will see as you're writing the book. So, there are memorable scenes, such as a war
Correct.
scene or a murder scene or some place that, creates immense power or immense suspense.
Right.
Those are scenes that you will automatically see. What I did was write down all those scenes like on a list and then just select what would be better for the book and what would not do good for the cover
Correct.
image. So that's what I did. So this scene in my book, like as a cover,
Yeah.
this was part of something that you will encounter in a few, like in the middle of the book, you will
Right.
encounter definitely. So it's quite changing. I mean, that's when the entire prophecy sets in, like it begins. That's
Correct.
why the book, The Awakening.
Okay. But then
Yeah.
I have one more question. Like, since we are like in an age where pictures and all those things matter a lot, like the graphics matter a lot, because now even the younger people are into books, they want to read graphic novels. So is like somewhere, do you
Yeah.
plan to make your covers for those younger audience, like keeping them in mind?
Uh,
Well, in my case, definitely the younger people have been very attracted to the cover.
Yeah.
I have given talks physically when I was in India at various high schools,
Hmm.
and I found that the students were just mesmerized by Dawn. I mean,
Yeah.
she sort of was. They were very attracted to her. There was something very liberating about
Right.
how she looked and how she presented herself, and that she was Indian. And uh, I could see the youth really uh, finding a lot of aspirational elements
Right.
expressed in.
So, like as you said, it is very fascinating to see both the covers, because I am someone who definitely buys a book when I see a beautiful cover. I mean, obviously, I read the first few pages, but then cover is a really important part as well. Moving on to next thing, Tejaswani, this is your debut novel. Um,
hmm.
was there any sort of nervousness when you were writing the book or after the book came out, because obviously it's your debut novel, so you might be scared because of the reviews and everything. So what was that whole process like?
Nerve-wracking. It was nerve-wracking, definitely. That was like one word that I had to get out. I mean, as a debut
Right.
novel, it certainly did carry all of my expectations in like
Hmm.
one basket.
Right.
So I definitely wanted to put my best foot forward and my best literary foot forward.
Right.
I needed people to understand that, yeah, I am a person that, can give you the right novel. I can give you something that you can expect
Yeah.
and something even more, to be honest. So, yeah, there was a lot of expectation. Definitely nervous and scared, anxious, excited, liberating, because it was absolutely liberating though once I published my book. But then after
Yeah.
that, the review process, trying to get people to review your book
Hmm.
and stuff. So the first review, it really freaked me out, but it did good. So far, it's received good audience. So I'm
Yeah.
happy about that.
Right. And Rakesh, this is your second book, so was there any kind of nervousness, or like it was sort of breezy for you now?
So, I have a slightly uh, different process. और हिंदी में इसका जो शब्द है वो शब्द है पुकार.
Hmm.
जब बच्चे की आवाज आती है, a newborn baby
Yeah.
cries,
Yeah.
a young mother starts lactating spontaneously. She doesn't control that phenomenon. So for me, whatever writings I've done, and I've certainly done these two major novels, uh, it's a calling. Something starts calling you, you play with it for
Right.
months. In the case of uh, my first novel, The Last Queen of Kashmir, dealing with a real life queen, probably the greatest queen of India that Indians
Yeah.
didn't know about. And if you love Chhatrapati Shivaji, you will adore Kotara. It took me 7 years. So you pukar, बढ़ती है, then you start writing. But
Yeah.
then once you write and create a story, it's like your baby. You have a baby for you. Believe it or not, I write for me.
Right.
I had our sons for us, my wife and me. तो जब ये बच्चा पैदा होता है या ये कहानी पैदा होती है, for me, भाई देखो, you want your child to do well, you want people to like your child, you want people to like your story. But for me, I am actually a bit relaxed about the social acceptance process. You know, I've written, I put it out there. There will be people who will resonate with it, and those who do,
Right.
I'm glad I wrote it because they got some joy out of it. But I don't attach any ego, or I don't attach any nervousness, I don't attach any anxiety, because that for me is not why I created it. I didn't create it to achieve success. I created it because I just enjoy the craft
Right.
of creation. And I am responding to my inner pukar, my inner voice to create
Right.
that story.
But then, Rakesh, this is your second book. Are you trying to, sort of bind all your works in some way, or do you want each book to stand out on its own?
That's a very good question. That is a very, very good question. And जो आपके रीडर्स हैं, वो मैं चाहता हूं कि वो जो मैं बोलूंगा अच्छी तरह से सुने. See, there are lots of writers from India in English, many of whom who have gone on to win Nobel Prizes. You know, fame has come, money has come, and all that. I make a small claim. The claim I make is that I am the only writer who writes in English, but using Indian literary principles.
Right.
तो जैसे हमारे म्यूजिक में म्यूजिकल प्रिंसिपल्स है, हमारे आर्ट में प्रिंसिपल्स है, हमारे डांस में
Correct.
प्रिंसिपल्स है, वैसे ही हमारे लिटरेरी प्रिंसिपल्स है. ये जो लिटरेरी प्रिंसिपल्स हैं, जो ये शब्द साहित्य था, वो पहली बार कश्मीर में आया. उस आदमी का नाम था कुंतका, जिसने 800 साल पहले ये कॉइन किया शब्द साहित्य.
Okay.
पर साहित्य का ये मीनिंग नहीं है कि जो लिखते हो वो साहित्य है. साहित्य का बड़ा प्रिसाइज मीनिंग है. तो जो मेरी पहली नॉवल कोटरानी की थी, उसको आप सोचिए, वो स्मृति शक्ति थी. इट वॉज अबाउट मेमोरी. जो डॉन उषा की नॉवल है, it is about Kalpana Shakti, imagination. It was the first bona fide science fiction novel to come out.
Right.
पर हमारी साहित्य क्या कहती है? हमारी साहित्य कहती है कि स्मृति शक्ति और कल्पना शक्ति दोनों एक ही शक्ति है, और ये जो शक्ति है, ये दोनों अपने को आत्मा शक्ति बढ़ाती है. Meaning that my novels, which are built around memory and built around imagination, are ultimately about self-empowerment.
Right.
Because that's what our Sahitya principles say. तो जो कोटा रानी है, it is, and I'll just end now, कोटा रानी है, it is the first novel written in English and only the third major novel ever written in शांत रस.
Okay.
जो पहली नॉवल आई थी हिंदुस्तान में शांत रस में वो है महाभारत. दूसरी जो नॉवल आई थी वो है कलहना राजतरंगी. It is a very difficult way to write, but when you can create that recipe, it is magic. And Kota Rani was magic. शांत रस. और ये जो डॉन है ये वीर रसम है.
Correct.
It's what. And we can talk more about the genre, but I've talked a lot. I want to give Tejaswini a chance to chat. But that's some of the differences and what ties these two things together.
Right.
Very rooted in Indic literary heritage, very much about empowering the readers so you don't just escape into fantasy, but you come back into reality a stronger human being.
Correct. Wow, that was actually like काफी insightful. Like you took us back 800 years. Tejaswini, I have a question for you. You
Yeah.
are done with your debut novel now.
Yeah.
And it's out in the market now. Are you thinking about your second novel now?
Yeah, I am. It's actually in the works right now.
Okay. So
So there's
how fast do you switch between two novels? Like first तुम आपने like खत्म की, and then how long did it take you to get into the working process of the second novel?
not much time because this is a series and I'm planning on making this a series. So this is
Yeah.
the second book that's going to be in the Sangam series.
Okay.
I have certain events already planned out. They're not that elaborate, but I'm already working on it. It took me about, let's say, my book was published in November. So it took me like, I guess, March and April beginning to finally understand what I wanted to do with my second novel.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, it does take time, depends, because I'm writing a series. So for me, it's all about connecting the dots, like where I left off and what I have to do now and what needs to end, how the ending needs to be, how the beginning needs to be, all of that. So that's what matters to me now. So that's why it was easy for me to just jump.
Correct. But then both your books are, sort of into historical fiction genre. I'm sure there was a lot of research work also into this. So, Tejaswini, since you're writing your second novel now, what kind of research do you do for your books? And how
All
long
right.
does it take you?
So research doesn't stop. Even when you're writing your book, you will obviously want to keep researching about facts. For me, since it's also like kingdoms and stuff, I need to, see naval ships. I need to see the army, like the way the army was and the different positions in the army at that time. So I usually looked up the Cholas and the Chera empires, and then I looked up, since there's also going to be a new link to another island country. Pretty obvious, I guess, by now. If it's in Tamil Nadu, then this is the only island country that we probably really touched is Sri Lanka. So I'm also looking into that. So there was the army, like research necessary for the army. There was research necessary for topography, the culture, the tradition, the people, all of that. So the language as well. So that's also something that you have to keep researching as you go through the novel. So.
And Rakesh, for you, since your novel is based in Kashmir, and it can be a tricky business when you're talking about Kashmir because of like a lot of reasons. So how do you do the research work for your book?
Well, first, let me compliment Tejaswini and so delighted that at a young age you are not only doing research so that your story is authentic, but that you are shining a light on some of the greatest aspects of India's civilization and making it attractive to people who I know would be delighted. I mean, the Chola bronzes today are priceless. They just don't come out on the market. they don't come, and when they come, they sell in millions of dollars, which
Definitely.
is
The architecture and the art were just
a
crazy. It was
tribute
unbelievable.
of the of humanity to what was
Yeah.
created in that civilization. So
Right.
I'm so happy, Tejaswini, that you're doing what
Thank
you're
you.
doing, and more importantly, how you're doing it. So Kashmir is a very treacherous minefield right now.
Right.
Anything about Kashmir that you do, the guns, start flying. At least literary guns start flying.
Mm.
Now, the good news is this. The good news is this that Kotarani, uh, uh, even though it dealt with all of the clash of civilization issues very honestly and authentically,
Right.
uh, got universal acclaim. And all sections of society in Kashmir uh, praised the book. And Dawn did not deal with a contentious period because Kotarani was the last Hindu ruler of Kashmir, and after that
Mm.
it became Islamic rule. Dawn did not deal with that contentious period, but it uh, did bring the 5,000-year civilization of Kashmir to
Right.
the fore. And I think uh, if India wants to claim कि भाई हम हिंदुस्तान का धर्म है कि हम अ, सारी दुनिया के लिए विश्व गुरु हैं, तो हिंदुस्तान के विश्व गुरुओं में कश्मीर से जो विश्व गुरु थे उनका काफी इंपॉर्टेंट रोल था.
Right.
कश्मीर वैली जो फर्स्ट मिलेनियम में थी, it had the same role जो कि Silicon Valley has today, and all kinds of people would come to Kashmir because it was a great center of learning. तो अब देखिए हम योगा मानते हैं, yoga came from Kashmir, Patanjali yoga.
Right.
हम
Right.
संस्कृत मानते हैं, Panini was a Kashmiri. हम आयुर्वेदा मानते हैं, चरका सुश्रुता from Kashmir. So Kashmir ki, number zero, the first evidence humanity has of the number zero is from the Bashkali manuscript from Kashmir.
Wow.
तो कश्मीर उस समय बड़ी महत्वपूर्ण सिविलाइजेशन थी.
Yeah.
और लोग जब डॉन पढ़ते हैं और कोटरान पढ़ते हैं तो दे एक्सपीरियंस अ सेंस ऑफ चमत्कार.
Mm.
चमत्कार. तो अब भाई कहानी तो कहानी है. अल्टीमेटली कहानी का ये पर्पस है कि ये जो सीक्रेट सॉस कश्मीर था,
Yeah.
ये क्या सीक्रेट सॉस था इनका, ये क्यों इतने क्रिएटिव थे, ये क्यों इतने इनोवेटिव थे.
Right.
And that is what is I based on my research that I share that look, at the end of the day, if India wants to become innovative, if India wants to be creative, if India wants to excel the way we used to in the past,
Yeah.
these were the secrets that these people employed to make them these human beings into superhuman beings.
Correct.
And these are techniques that we can all use very simply. I share all that in my stories. And that's what I
Right.
mean by saying a story should leave you feeling more powerful in your day-to-day life. It should not only be an escape.
Right. So, why Kashmir is fascinating for me is because I come from a journalism background, and
Yeah,
Kashmir was like a huge project for me back then in the college days.
yeah,
I had done a ton of research on Kashmir, and I know how rich the history is, and that is why I sort of grew more and more I don't know, like there's something which attracts me towards Kashmir. The people, the culture, there's so much to know about Kashmir. And if you remove all the, turmoil, the political decisions, everything, the people in Kashmir are really beautiful. Their culture is really beautiful. And that's why I cherish books like these, which have Kashmir as an essence in them. So like it's really good to see people like you coming out with the such deep history about Kashmir, which is really fascinating.
तो आपने एक you used a very important word. See, people all around the world are the same.
Hmm.
They are born equal genetically. They are the same. The only thing that separates people is the choices they make.
Right.
What is the choice you make in the way of life that you follow? तो ये जो वे ऑफ लाइफ है, हमारे हिंदुस्तान में इसका एक शब्द है, उसको कहते हैं नीति. नीति means the wise way of life.
Hmm.
नीति आजकल लोग सिर्फ पॉलिटिक्स में सोचते हैं कि चाणक्य नीति, ये पॉलिटिशियन बड़ा चालाक है. But that is a very reduced aspect of Niti. Niti is the way of life you follow. आपके व्यूअर्स को खुशी होगी ये सुनने कि हिंदुस्तान में it was the first country in the world to create Niti stories. 200 BC, मतलब कि 2200 साल पहले the first collection of Niti stories came out. उसको कहते हैं पंचतंत्र. It is still the most translated collection of stories. It came out of Kashmir. So Niti is a sub-genre of literature, of Sahitya. Dawn is the first novel in English language that is written on the principles of Niti Shastra. And within Niti, and there are choices you make in life. The first thing about Niti is you have to be a beautiful person. अब मैं एक इंडियन आर्मी की कहानी सुनाऊंगा. आपने सुना होगा कि there are certain regiments जहां पे before they go into battle they do the last rites. करते हैं ना? They take an oath to go into battle. वो अंतिम संस्कार करके जाते हैं. Sikh battalions do it. Nepali Gurkha battalions do it. Sikh Guru Granth पे करते हैं. They do their last rites.
Right.
आपको गर्व होगा कि Dawn में I actually put the warrior oath जो कि 5000 साल पुरानी है, जहां की वो उसकी roots है. And do you know what is the interesting thing about that long oath, warrior oath? The last sentence of that oath says, and when I kill, may I look beautiful.
Wow.
मतलब कि क्षत्रिय को अगर जान भी किसी की लेनी होती है तो जान वो धर्म से लेता है, धर्म की वजह से लेता है. Not out of anger, not out of hate, of passion.
Right.
And the only proof of that is that even in that extreme moment where you're taking somebody's life, you're a beautiful person. इसीलिए मैंटो ने, you know Manto, the famous writer, उसने कहा Kashmiris are a beautiful people. अगर जो कश्मीर के अभी लोग हैं, अगर उनको यह समझ आए कि we are a beautiful people, let us rediscover who we are. ये काफी problems जो हैं, misguided problems, ये निकल जाए. And that is what my stories are attempting to bring, among other things. the beauty of who a Kashmiri is.
Right. That's actually like
Beautiful.
really beautiful.